Wow, what a challenging day and a half it's been. I just want to take 1 minute of this time and just express my gratitude to our team behind the scenes. You guys have no idea how things go wrong. It is unbelievable. I can't remember when last we had a service where so many things go so wrong behind the scenes, but yet God is good and still blesses us, and we have a beautiful occasion where we gather. And so I just want to express gratitude. It's unfortunate that you guys only get to see me standing on this pulpit, but there are numerous people behind the scenes that serve, that help, and it's just impossible for me to do what I do if it's not for them. And I just want to express that gratitude. So please never for a second think of our church as a person, but this church is a family and it's a community, and it takes an entire team. And there are so many people that pray. There are so many people that encourage. There are so many people that speak into my life. And I get the privilege to minister the word to you. But please, I just want to extend that gratitude to the entire Baruch Church and the volunteers that serve so faithfully behind the scenes. Thank you for being fearless. Thank you for being brave. And thank you for helping. Now, we're going to talk about the 22nd thread. I am extremely excited about sharing this message with you. Would you guys, yes, please, just the stage display. I would appreciate that. I'm excited because I think you are going to see the picture of Easter like you've never seen it before. I think it's going to add tremendous value to you. There's a couple of things I need to explain to you, but I'm gonna trace this 22nd thread through the Bible, and hopefully at the end you can get a bigger picture. Also, I aim to give you a tool in order to help you, especially when it comes to the Old Testament, to interpret certain things and kind of make a little bit sense of them. But before we jump into that, let's start with Luke chapter 23 and from verse 32, and it reads the following. 2 others who were criminals were led away to be put to death with him, that's Jesus. And when they came to the place that is called the Skull, there they crucified him, and the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. Verse 34. And Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they cast lots to divide his garments. Verse 35. And the people stood by, watching. But the rulers scoffed at him, saying, He saved others. Let him save himself. If he is the Christ of God, his chosen one. Just going to pause there. Do you know how many church people we spend time with that feels very similar like this statement? This is not even part of my notes, but I just feel I want to share this with you this morning. Sometimes serving in God's kingdom can be tough, because you get the privilege of witnessing what God does through your life in the lives of other people. But sometimes you don't get access to the same blessings. You see, we understand service with words, but the moment when service aligns with sacrifice, it becomes a different story for all of us. My heart breaks. I can remember a pastor just speaking just randomly to me, and he says, and he's much older than me, and he says this conversation, he says, I don't understand this. God uses me to heal other people. He says, I've seen miracles happen with my own eyes, but God doesn't heal me from my depression. And I could hear the hurt and the pain in his sentence as he's speaking. But guess what? That gentleman is still serving a local pastor on a coastal town. It's been, 30 years, something plus like that. He is still serving up until this day, even with a question in the inside of his heart. And we see Jesus coming to a similar position, where the idea is that God, his Father, used him to make an impact in the lives of people. But when he felt he needed God the most, he calls out that, God, why have you forsaken me? We're going to talk about that in a second. Verse 36. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine. 37, and saying, if you are the king of the Jews, save yourself. Verse 38, there was also an inscription over him, this is the King of the Jews. You can go to the next one for me. Today is always a day of heaviness, a day of, I love this word that is used, a day of remembrance. The song says, I will live my life in remembrance. I think that is such a powerful statement where it's not just about remembering something that happened, but it's living your life in the reality of the remembrance of that event. And that is two different things. Just remembering something, but living your life in remembrance of this event is a completely different discussion. But I'm going to leave the preaching part to the end. I want you to just follow me on this journey as we're going to walk through this 22nd thread. And there's three main points that I want to show you. And I want you just to open your heart, and I hope that this will be a blessing to you. I hope you will see Easter in a new light. And then we're going to come to the end part where I'm going to make it very practical for you, and then we're going to go over to the communion table. The story starts in Genesis 22. You can go to the next one for me. And we are addressed with a question. And I want you just to read that with me. Genesis 22. You can go to the next one for me, please. And Isaac said to his father Abraham, my father, and he said, here I am, my son. And he said, behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? I'm just going to pause over there. It's the story of Abraham having the privilege of having born his son, and now he's faced with this request where God asks him to offer his son. Just want to pause there. The strangest request that you have ever heard in your life. If we zoom into just this passage, it is extremely difficult to make sense of this request. And so people will look at this passage and say, but how can a loving God request something so unloving of people? And he sits with a position where his only son that he's got, God requests that he needs to go and offer him. And his son speaks back to me and says, listen here, we've got the wood, we've got the fire, everything is ready. But where's the offering? And Abraham replies in the next one, verse 8 for me, please. And Abraham said, God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son. So they went both of them together. You see, the question asked in Genesis 22 is this: who is going to pay for this? You see, maybe, let me make it a little bit more practical for you. Okay. Everything costs a price. You guys know this. Oh, well, as adults, we know this. Even when something is free, you know it costs a price. Because either someone paid for it, or there's a marketing agenda, or they want your email address, or whatever the case may be. But there's always an agenda behind something that's free. Well, let me explain to you this way. I'm laughing now because I recall something my son AJ did the other day. Well, I thought it was funny. We go to the store, we walk around, and they've been nagging me for this immune booster thing. I don't know, it's some more other fancy cool drink. And you know what? Sometimes we just get fed. Jy sit hier so, jy luister. Okay. We sometimes we get just so fed up with the children, we just buy them what they want, right? So I walk into the store. They just nag, and I said, okay, choose the ones you want, and that's fine. We go to the till, we pay it, and as we walk out, he can't wait. He opens his cool drink, and he takes a sip, and this is just the best thing he's ever had in his life. Ever. I mean, it doesn't taste that good, by the way, but it's just fantastic. And he gets so excited that he turns to his siblings. This is how good the cool drink was. He turns to his siblings and says, wil jy proe? Do you want to taste? Okay? And immediately, his siblings frown at him because they know Nothing is for free, okay? And without even blinking, he's so excited about the cool drink, it goes over. He says, do you want to taste? For free, for free. So if you want to know the nature of my house, you need to clarify when you're really giving something just because you want to share, because there's no free sharing in the Maritz house, unfortunately. Okay, now it was just so involuntary. He just shouted out, "It's for free. You can taste it," because my daughter didn't believe him. But it was such a beautiful occasion. But as we grow older, we realize that things cost a price. When we were younger, the only thing that we wanted to do after church was go to a drive-through. But you can't ask, because then the answer is going to be no. And so unfortunately, with my parents and my sister, the thing is, we drive past the McDonald's. Okay, I probably can use the word that we went to. Past the McDonald's after church. But if you're going to ask, you're not going to get it. So the roller coaster of emotions. You're sitting in the car and you see the sign. And you have never prayed so loudly in your life on the inside, like, please turn left. Please turn left. And Leandro and myself, we would make eye contact, and we hope. And as you draw closer, you can just pick things up. At the speed and the trajectory of the vehicle, whether the turn is able to be made or I don't know. I mean, we just learn these things when you are smaller. And so there comes a point of no return. It's the most devastating point when even if my dad pulled that steering wheel, it was just a Beetle, the thing can't turn properly. It's got no power steering. There's no way we're going to make the turn. And your entire being would question the purpose of life because you just passed the golden arches, okay? But then there are those odd occasions when my dad would keep a straight face, okay? No emotion shown. And you pick up, the acceleration slowly declines. Not just enough for us to notice it's happening. Okay? I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's like being in paradise when you feel the left turn coming up and you just didn't. But as kids, for us, it wasn't a thing. It's just, we don't pay for that. So we just want it. Now, it happens the same with us now when we drive and we see it comes past. My wife and I makes eye contact, okay? But now it's not because we want to go there. It's because we can't always afford to go there. Now it's because now it's not for free anymore. Okay, when I was 7 and 8, it was for free. But now that experience, it costs us something. And so too in life and with our walk with God, there is a price involved. Okay. But sometimes it's not just a financial thing. It goes a little bit of a step further. It's a question about the next one. Who will carry the burden? The burden. This becomes very big, especially if you love animals and you want to get like the kids would sometimes. One of my sons, I won't name the one sitting there, he said to me, like, we have this big discussion. He would love a pet snake in the house. Okay? You see, they're judging you. Okay. Yeah. He would love a pet snake in the house. Okay, but you guys felt that when I said that right now. Okay, so we're going for counseling at this stage as a home because it's kind of split into two parts. I'm just kidding about that. But the question is this, is that if he doesn't take care of the snake, I mean, how's my wife going to take care of the thing if she needs to? I mean, it's just not fair, It's just not fair. It's just not fair. The problem is anything that you choose, there's a burden attached to that. And it comes with a responsibility. And so many times we ask this idea about who will carry the burden, and the next one, who will take the responsibility. And even though I'm deciding this in a lighter note, when we think about society, when we think about our country, this is why politics becomes so sensitive, because we're asking this question: who are we trusting to take up this burden and this responsibility? And can we trust them with this burden and responsibility? Because we need someone that can fix things for us. We need someone that can change things around for us. Now, coming down to this conversation about Abraham and Isaac, and this whole conversation about sacrifice, and his son asking this question about who's going to carry this burden, who's going to make the sacrifice, who's going to push through. He asked this question about sacrifice. Okay. Pause over there. I know it didn't conclude somewhere, but I want you to trust me, because we're going to go to the next 22nd thread. And that's going to be in Psalm 22, referred to as the cry. If you've been in our church for a long time, this would be probably one of those psalms that is just burnt into your heart, simply because every Easter we go through the psalm. I'm going to explain to you why in a second. See, if Abraham gave us the question about who is going to take up the responsibility, David expresses the feeling to us. And I've just selected a few parts of the psalm, and I want you to read the psalm with me for one simple reason. When Jesus hung on the cross, he referred and he shouted out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And it wasn't just an empty saying, it was a quote of Psalm 22. You guys know this, all right? And just out of respect and out of remembrance for this day, I just want you to show a couple of things here. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me from the words of my groaning? The next verse. Oh my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but I find no rest. The idea is this. When we look at the themes of the Old Testament, you will notice, I'm going to turn my back to you guys, excuse me quickly. For some of you, you can see a shadow that's on the wall here at the back. If you're watching online, you won't be able to see this. So the idea of foreshadowing is you can see the outline of a person kind of on the wall over there. Okay, not the guys in the middle. Sorry for that, okay? But the concept is that it's giving us a hint to what you will pick up moving forward. It's giving us an idea on what the main thing looks like. So I want you to think of this concept now. When you have an individual standing and a light is being shown on them, there will be a shadow. Now I want you to think of the Old Testament as a shadow and as an outline that is referring to something that will happen in the future. It is an image of what is to come. So it's not very difficult to understand that in a shadow concept. So many times under theology you will get this terminology that talks about it's a foreshadow of what is to come. So I want you just to put on that foreshadowing head and think about this idea that the concept of Abraham and Isaac and the concept of David, it's giving us hints on what we are to expect. It's a much easier for us on this side of the New Testament. But when these things took place, it's really difficult to kind of discern what is going on. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within my breast. Next one for me, please. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of death. Next one for me, please. For dogs encompass me, a company of evildoers encircles me. They have pierced my hands and feet. Next one for me, please. I can count all my bones. They stare and gloat over me. Again, I just want to pause over here. We're talking about Abraham and Isaac and a son that needs to be sacrificed, and the question is being asked, where is the offering? We fast forward to the conversation of David having, and he gives very specific descriptions, and it gives us a shadow outline on what is to come. Verse 18. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. Now, if you know a little bit of the story of the crucifixion, that sounds like familiar terms. The only but the only strange thing is it's not in the New Testament. That is conducted in the Old Testament, in the time of David. And we see these hints that points towards a special occasion that's going to happen somewhere in the future, which happened in the New Testament, of a sacrifice. But I want you to pick up on this very quickly. Next one for me. That this is the language of grief. Can you go to the next one for me? This is the language of unanswered prayer. We have Genesis 22, we have Psalm 22, and I want to take you to Luke 22. Now it's the choice. And I want you to combine everything that I shared with you now to this one idea. And you can carry on to the verse for me, please. And when he withdrew from them about a stone's throw and knelt down and prayed, next one, saying, Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. Next one for me, please. And there appeared to him an angel from heaven, strengthening him. Next one for me, please. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. So I want to suggest that as we approach this Easter, I want you to take this 22nd thread concept. And I want you to put on those glasses, and I want you to consider collectively what this day represents. You see, Abraham asked, you can go to the next one for me, thank you, asked a question. David, you can go to the, yes, David felt the pain. But yeah, I want you to find the crux of what we are saying, and it's this. But Jesus had to make the choice. You see, serving in God's kingdom, submitting your heart towards Him, we all have these wonderful and beautiful conversations. But do not think for a second that it's free. I know it's going to sound very strange what I'm sharing with you, because you think, I'm not trying to say you need to pay for grace. Not at all, not at all. I want you to understand that a price has been paid for you. Can I rephrase this to you? A decision was made to choose you deliberately. The cross was not an accident. It was a decision made. And when we take this concept about who is going to take responsibility, and you look at the burden of this responsibility, taking those things into consideration, Jesus was not unaware of the price. He was not unaware of the sacrifice. Contrary to that idea, He deliberately and intentionally chose the sacrifice for you and for me. And that brings things a little bit into perspective for us, because Good Friday is the day we remember that Jesus did not only die for us, but that He chose us as well. So when we talk about kneeling down before Christ, if we talk about why we do what we do, why do we show up to church so regularly? I ask this to other pastors sometimes, like, why do you continue doing what you are doing? And it's difficult to explain, because when you love, your answers won't be rational. When someone really means something to you, sometimes you do irrational things. You see, when you love deeply, sometimes it gives you the ability to persevere the inconvenience. If you speak to our team, the team at Baruch Church is not without drama, it's not without tension, it's not without frustration. I mean, we've got one individual, I don't want to name his name, but he makes very bad dad jokes, Johan. And so we have to tolerate it at times. We have to. Now, his jokes is actually very good, by the way. I use it all the time. He just doesn't know it. But we persevere through things for one simple reason. Because we love God deeply. Doesn't mean we're standing up here. I'm not standing up here from the perspective of perfection. But there's something in your heart that fills you with a sense of gratitude. That if God did it for me, He can do it for you too. God already chose you. But now we are faced with this question, Are we willing to choose Him? Are you willing to choose Him? And I'm not saying this cheaply, and I'm not saying this comfortably, because the moment you step into God's family, you get a responsibility of being part of the team. And when God enters your heart, sometimes you are going to serve and you're going to feel empty. Sometimes you are going to heal, but you are going to feel broken. For one simple reason. Because God has positioned you to pay the price. I want you to pick up on what I'm sharing with you. God has positioned you to pay the price to give life to those around you. See, I'm not talking about salvation at this stage. I don't want you to confuse the two conversations. Salvation is not something you pay for. That is God choosing you. But man, when you begin to walk with Him and you begin to journey with Him, things begin to bother you. Things begin to hurt you. It just makes you uneasy. It's because God is nudging you to say, I need you to make a difference over there. It's never easy to stand at a deathbed and have a family depend on you to pray for them, to bring hope, to bring peace in difficult situations. It's never easy when God stirs your heart. But there's something. Dr. Kobus always said, he says, church people are strange people, and he's referring to us normal people, okay, if I can put it in that sense. We just think differently, we work differently, and it won't always make sense. Can I speak to a couple of you? Some of you were warned by your parents about church. Some of you were almost rejected by friends because of church, because they do not understand what God is doing in your life. They do not understand. And it's not a thing about right and wrong. It's not a conversation about perfection. It's about this idea that when you realize that God chose you, it changes something so dramatically that it cannot make sense to the world. Someone once said, if you are busy doing something big, don't listen to the loved ones around you, because they will always warn you about inconvenience. They will always warn you about comfort. They will always, and I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way. What he's trying to express is that the people who love you the most will sometimes put you in the most comfortable position, and that is not always the best for you. I'm not saying then listen to your parents. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But I want to come back to this question quickly. Have you really that's horrible. I've got a degree, I promise. Okay. Have you ever really chosen God? Have you really made a decision for Him? I'm not talking about oppervlakkig. Oh. Sorry, I want to say something so badly, but I'm just going to say it in any case, and I say this with utmost respect. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to try. Can I speak about my own culture for a second? I'm so used to the Afrikaans culture. Sorry for this, ladies and gentlemen. They make as if God belongs just to our Afrikaans culture. But when you engage with them, God only remains in their head, but has never entered their heart. Never, not once. Not once. Because God is only a concept up here. But the problem is, when you only serve God up here, you begin to become arrogant. Because your life only begins to change when God enters into your heart, and suddenly it changes things. It changes the way you love. Apologies, can I rephrase that? He changes the way you love. He changes the way you show forgiveness. He changes the way you persevere. He changes things here. And suddenly you can't be part of the team anymore because you just see things different. You love different. You choose different. You pray different. You show up different. You go through difficulty different. Not because it's easier, but something has changed. Can I share this? I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but I want to just, this has been a theme that's been stuck with me the last couple of weeks. Is it possible that you've been only trying to serve God in your head but not in your heart? Is it possible you're trying to hit minimum requirements as if you are signing up to a competition or a program? Is it possible that you think about God, but you don't walk like He does? I want to take this opportunity to invite you in before we're going to go over to the table. Don't keep God in your head. You need to kneel down and submit to Him in your heart. Otherwise, this gathering is futile. Can I share that? And obviously, you've decided to do a beautiful and honorable thing to commemorate the life of Jesus at this table. But if this is just a once-off thing to consume something, and then just walk out there and continue the way you are, then God has not entered into your heart. And this is why it becomes expensive to follow Jesus. Because you choose to submit the inside. You choose to kneel this down. And this is not even I'm not even, sorry for this horrible word, it's not a play on emotion, ladies and gentlemen. It's a conversation about realness and authenticity. I've recently realized that this is something that's, to me, personally important to me, the concept of authenticity. The realness of whether I'm serving God or not. I know that's a very strange question to ask people in the church, but I want you to put on the lens the realness of your worship, the realness of your prayer, the realness of your attendance, the realness behind the words that come out of your mouth. And so we are challenged with this, that we can do things superficially just to commemorate this day. But then there's this concept of living your life in remembrance, which is something else, because that affects your weekly schedule too. That affects your work ethic. That affects your family and your home. And that affects the way you see yourself. I want you to hold on to that idea. How would you evaluate your realness this morning? I don't want to apologize, but I don't mean to offend anyone. But have you just shown up out of habit this morning? Because it's a well-known weekend? Have you come up just to hit that minimum requirement that, well, at least I was in church on Easter? God loves you way more than that. He loves you much deeper than that. He's not interested about this play thing. He's not interested about this superficial thing. He paid an expensive price for you. And there's an agenda that He really wants to build something with you. Something authentic. And I think it's something that we need to evaluate in our own lives. Am I really here to build a relationship with God? Or am I here to just get a box ticked so that I can carry on?